Our first guest tonight is a World Series champion, a 14-time All-Star, and is considered one of the best baseball players of all time. His three-part docuseries, Alex vs. A-Rod, premieres on HBO and streams on HBO Max November 6th. Let's take a look.
I remember waking up one night, and I'm like, I'm the only dumbass in the world that has pocket aces and figures out a way how to lose a hand. I mean, you have hundreds of millions of dollars guaranteed to you. You have 3 MVPs. You have a world championship. Your legacy cemented. You're going straight to the Hall of Fame. And then I crossed the line and I caused myself all of that, plus the embarrassment and the shame and my reputation.
Please welcome to the show, Alex Rodriguez, everybody.
I'm doing great. Hello, everybody. Hello, New York. Seth, I got to begin by telling you, you have the nicest staff. I met one of your makeup ladies back there. Her name is Kristen.
Yep.
She's wonderful. And she's putting some makeup on. I said, put a lot on for me, because Mom's watching. And she says, I have a confession to make. I said, oh, no, this is my first time on Seth. What's your confession? She goes, I have a dog. I said, okay, that's pretty cool. His name is Jeter. I go, yeah. And then I paused. I didn't know where to go. I thought I was being trapped. And she says, but I also have a bird. I said, great, bird, awesome. We love animals. Yeah. She said, and his name is A-Rod. I said, great. So then she starts taking the picture out to show me Jeter, the dog.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, Jeter looks great. And then I said, but can I see me now? And then she showed me a bird, and that was A-Rod. So, Kristen, thank you for that.
This is, and can I just say this story is, this is one of the reasons we asked Kristen not to talk to the guests, because she's definitely making this story up. I've seen her show that dog to so many guests, and I'm like, this dog's named Kevin Kline. And you're like, stop it. It's great to have you here. You've never been here. You kind of maybe figured out why you haven't been here yet. Something about me.
Well, what I heard, well, let's say this. I've been a huge fan of Seth for a long time, going back to the SNL days. And ironically, you started SNL around the time I got to New York.
Yeah.
And you started SNL, then a couple years later, in 2004, I got traded to New York. But I've always wanted to come on, and he would never invite me.
Yeah.
But then I found out why. It's because he's a huge Red Sox fan.
I am a huge Red Sox fan. And so... But I will say, I want to be, and I'm honest, I feel like if you can have this much fun with Big Papi, I am like, you're on my winner list forever. You guys, you and Jeter and David Ortiz, you do such a fantastic job with your post-game and pre-game analysis of baseball. Do you love talking about baseball with those guys in particular?
Yeah, Seth, it's so unhealthy. I love baseball so much, and I can talk about it all day, and I drive those guys crazy. But you know, the three of us, we go back to when we were, all three of us, like 17, 18 years old. So we have a lot of history. And Big Papi, I mean, he's just like one of one. He's the only guy. Now, this guy, I've lost so many years because of Big Papi. Yeah. He's hit so many big home runs against us. And he goes to Yankee Stadium and gets the standing ovation.
I know.
I'm like, what is happening here?
He's beloved. He is so
everywhere.
beloved.
He's the best.
Also, it's an interesting, you talk about when you know each other when you were so young. You were a first overall pick. Jeter, I think, top 10 overall, number 6 or something. Yeah. Papi was not that.
Right.
But, when you're that young, when you're that age, obviously, there's a pedigree for you, there's a pedigree for Jeter. Do you notice guys like Papi, other guys at that age where you're like, oh, I think you might actually be special?
100%. And the history is Big Papi and I were teammates when we were 17 years old for the Seattle Mariners.
Yep.
And we came, right behind, Griffey and Edgar Martinez. We had a great, great team over there, and Lou Piniella was the manager. But then he went to Minnesota, and I think they tried to make him like a Punch and Judy hitter, meaning like they didn't want him to hit home runs.
Yep.
And when he got to Boston, Tito Francona said, hey, that Punch and Judy stuff is gone. I want you to hit the ball in the seats. And that was the birth of Big Papi.
Yeah.
And your 4 championships.
Yeah, no, it's all worked out really nice. So, the other thing that worked out really nice, and like, don't get me wrong, like I genuinely, there was a time in my life where I was very angry about the Yankees, and I feel like I've allowed 2004 to make me a little bit happier.
Yeah.
Did
you get therapy?
I felt like that was when that happened. I've always said when the Red Sox finally won, I felt like when Pinocchio became a human boy. But this was one of the highlights of my postseason. Is obviously the Blue Jays knock out the Yankees. Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is talking to Big Papi, and the amount of fun he was having, and you and Jeter knowing you had to suffer through it. This was the play off the famous post game called "The Yankees Win." I don't know if you've seen it, but take a look.
Dale, the Yankee lose. The Yankee lose. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Oh man, when you win, you have bragging rights, and we couldn't say anything because we didn't win. But
Yeah.
Derek and I were very much in a lot of pain for that.
Yeah.
And Papi knows how to get it in there. But by the way, Vlad, what an amazing story, right? This kid is baseball royalty. He's from Dominican Republic, but he was born in Canada because his father paid for Montreal.
Yeah.
And his father's a Hall of Famer, and he was just incredible. I mean, he just had an incredible. It's one of those World Series, Seth, that you wish that you can have two co-winners because they both.
It was heartbreaking that one of them had to lose. Do you watch and still wish, especially with a World Series that good, that you could be under those lights again?
Seth, if I can tell, I would be embarrassed to tell you the check size that I would write just to get like one more at bat. One more at bat. I mean, I love playing so much, and every day I wake up, I'm like, man, I wish I was going to Yankee Stadium. I love wearing the pinstripes. I love being a Yankee. And like when you win a championship in New York, it's pretty special.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And it's great for the city. I want to ask you about your documentary. We'll be right back with more from Alex Rodriguez. Welcome back to Late Night. We're here with Alex Rodriguez. So I really want to compliment this documentary and you as well, because I think sometimes athletes of your caliber can have involvement in a documentary and it sort of glances over, the hard stuff. You really come at it head on. Did you know when you were going to get involved with this sort of thing that you were going to tell your whole story, warts and all, and was it cathartic to do that?
It was very, very difficult, and I thought it was important to go there because the mistakes that I made were so public, so much had been written, and my daughters now, I have two daughters, 20 years old, a junior in college and a senior in high school, and I wanted them to co-sign it with me and make sure that this is going to be a family project, and they did, and they were excited, and they had two conditions. They said, Dad, if we're going to do this, we're going to be raw and we're going to be real. And this is my little one, my 17-year-old Ella. She's so smart. And then she said, the other thing is, we're done apologizing. There's not a apology tour. Like, she said, you have aura, whatever the hell that means. These teenagers all have these words. I got to look it up on ChatGPT. But say those are the two rules. And whatever you do, Dad, don't do that stupid thing where you try to be funny because you're not funny.
Oh, that's right.
I said, all right, I can try to do the first two.
Every time your kids give you advice, they get progressively meaner.
Yeah.
As they go. But it is, I mean, by the way, it's interesting when you say not an apology tour, but that isn't to me that you're not defensive, you're owning it. And again, it's an interesting path to look at. I'm like, oh, this is really, I think it'll be helpful for people, which is like, look, obviously you, as you said in the clip, right? Like you had to take a lot of personal punishment for this. And at the same time, we want people to come through it and look at what they did. And so it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, Seth, I think there's a lot of people out there that are struggling that can relate. I mean, it's hard to relate to a baseball player.
Yeah.
But a mental health story. I went from being 10 years old, my dad left, and we talk a lot about this in the documentary. Then my mom had to take on two jobs. She's an incredible woman. She would take two trains. She worked at General Motors, worked two jobs, never saw her miss a day of work. And it was one of those things where I just thought that a lot of people can relate with, the difficult times. And working through this progress, kind of open up those wounds again. And that was very difficult. But I hope that the next generation, including my daughters, can take my mistakes that were very public and very ugly and very embarrassing, all self-inflicted on me. And if they can avoid one or two of my mistakes and do better for them, is my way of kind of paying it forward as well.
It's also crazy to think, again, I'm not saying it was easy when you were playing, but social media, obviously has made life a lot harder for athletes on a mental health level. And, when you look back, I remember, I remember the number. I can pull out $252 million in my head because, you signed this contract that was, at the time, obviously record-breaking. And, people were not happy for you in a way that I think happily, maybe people are a little bit more happy for athletes who make that kind of money now.
Yeah, and maybe, Seth, you can relate with this. I mean, I think
I've never been off like that. Talk to Fallon, I think.
But what's been nice about the shifting of power is gone from institutional, had most of it, but today with social media, 25 years later, when you see Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto almost signing for $1 billion, they're celebrated, as they should.
Yeah.
So it's more like 50-50 versus I got more heat for that than anything else in my career. And at that time, that was pretty kind of puzzling. But look, we put it out there and let people see what the real truth is and the raw, and hopefully they can take something from it.
Do you remember getting the phone? I mean, obviously you were not under, you knew you were going to get drafted. You went #1 overall, but do you still remember the phone call? Was that like an important moment in your life?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was so cool when I got that call from Seattle. I was 17 years old. We were at my best buddy's house, and I had my mom, my grandma, everybody, my teammates. And when you're broke, like broke, that call felt really good.
Yeah.
Because then that means I can help my mom retire. I bought her a house, I bought her a car. And thank God, Seth, my mom's now 89 years old and doing great, healthy, can outdrink all of us in here.
Fantastic.
And so thank God.
It must be strange for your daughters to realize when your professional life started, you're basically the age they are now. And like the level of pressure. I mean, again, I feel like, we all hope one day our kids realize like what it was like for us when we were their age. Do you feel like you've been seen by them in that way?
I think so. I mean, one of the things, Seth, that like through this process, and we talk about it in the doc, is my relationship with my daughters. And, once I went into deep therapy, what I found was, and I got suspended, I took that time to, as Dr. David says, which you'll meet in the documentary, is the rewiring of the brain and really kind of increasing your self-awareness, trying to get your ego under control. And one of the things that's very scary is if you're very young and you don't have the tools and you have enormous success right out of the gates, that's a formula that can, help, speed up your narcissism or whatever. And I'm just glad that I was able to take that time, come out, say what I did, learn from my mistakes, and get ready for the back nine of my life. And my life today is much healthier, much happier, and I have an incredible relationship, not only with my daughters, but everyone around me.
That's wonderful. You also have, you're on the ownership teams of the Minnesota the Wolves and the Lynx, the WNBA team.
Yeah.
Is it really fun to be a part of that? And also, do you find you're in a position to sort of pass on some advice to people who are in their younger parts of their career?
Well, I mean, the advice part, I got to be careful. I mean, I just did a documentary. It doesn't give me a license to give anyone advice.
Right.
But what it's taught me is that I've been in the public eye for a long time. I've made some really good things. I've made some terrible mistakes. And I always lead with whoever I mentor with my biggest mistakes, right? And just put that on the table. And I think that's really important to have that type of transparency. And then you go from there. But as far as being a team owner, I talk about Magic Johnson all the time. Basketball, he was a basketball legend, Magic for the Lakers, and he owns, the Dodgers. And every time we talk, I'm giving him baseball advice. Every time we're talking, he's giving me basketball advice. And the fact that I wasn't so close to it, it's like I'm a novice in basketball, so I get to wake up every day and try to learn the business, try to learn it. But a lot of it, you can relate with the players, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time with our players, both the men and the women.
That's fantastic. They're lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you here. Thank you so much for making the trip. We really appreciate it. Alex Rodriguez, everybody. Alex versus A-Rod premieres November 6th on HBO and HBO Max. We'll be right back with Dakota Fanning.